Hello, welcome to my channel, welcome to my garage. This is Rick's Garage, and we have completed the Ducati motorcycle finally. After weeks on working on it, I finally completed it over this weekend. Now I'll turn the bike over on the other side so you can see the other side. And I'll also put this on the turntable so you can see it on the turntable as it moves around. But I just wanted to give you a little bit of a look. I'll zoom in just a little bit more so you can see the bike. So it works, everything is fine, and the bike is finally completed. And let's go over some of the instructions here. I'm going to put this kickstand down and put the bike over here on the side. And let's look at the instructions, and I'll go over what I experienced and what my thoughts are. I did have some problems and issues, which I will go over in this video. So starting off on step number 17, everything here went in just fine without a problem. Just go ahead and just paint the parts as they're called for. Remember that the screws are to scale, so put your the screws that you got in the kit next to the picture to make sure you got the right screw. And when you're putting in clear parts, use CI glue, or what I use is micro crystal clear, and I'll put in the descriptions and where I got that. You can get it off of Amazon. It's not that hard to get. But otherwise, other than that, this step number 17 went in just fine without a problem. Make sure though that you do paint the clear parts what they're called for. I think it's called for is a clear red. So make sure you paint that before you put those parts onto the back of the bike. This part here, number 18, I'm going to zoom in just a little bit more for you. This also was not a problem. This is pretty much of an easy part. However, these parts are a little fiddly. Make sure you do a dry fit to make sure you understand how the parts are supposed to go into this, how they're supposed to be secured. There is no lugs on here, so you just got to make sure you understand how it's supposed to fit on. You're really not going to see this once the bike is completed, but it is a little fiddly, so be aware of that. Okay, number 19, step number 19, putting those pieces onto the bike. As you put this piece on here, not a problem. This glues in just very simply onto the back of the bike, and then these two side cowls fit next to this part here. My advice is to put just a little bit of thin cement on the side here, and then as you're squeezing the parts together, bring the bike over a little bit, squeeze them together just a little so that you get a nice tight fit on the seams there between this part here and the back. Okay, other than that, not a problem on number 19. Moving on to 20. This also was not a big problem. Just make sure you paint everything the way that the instructions are calling for it. When putting in clear parts, again, use the micro crystal clear or CA glue that dries clear for your plastic parts. The gas cap or the gas tank, I did not put in the polycap. I forgot to put the polycap in. If you forget to put yours in, don't worry about it. I don't see any need for it. The seat actually fits on top of this. Go a couple of stages further here. And step number 23, you're going to put the seat on, and it's going to go through that polycap. But without the polycap, the seat fits on very, very securely. So don't worry if you forget to put that polycap on. So go ahead and paint this the red color that it's asking for, which is the Italian red. Get all that polished up and put some clear coat on there, and you'll be good to go. The gas cap, I actually created that gas cap. You'll notice that it is a metal gas cap on mine. And the way that I did that was using the detail kit, which I have right here, and the instructions. And it's very, very simple to do. Here's the instructions right here. It comes with two different designs, I think. I couldn't figure out the differences between 20 or 21. This one here is 21, as you can see, right there. And I didn't see the difference between them, but it says go ahead and use 20 or 21. and then glue in 3 pieces of 31, and you'll make your cap. So that wasn't a problem at all. The piece went in just fine without any issues. I did not paint it. I just left it the metal color that it came with in the kit, and no problems whatsoever. Okay, moving on to stage 21. This was not a problem at all. When you're doing your masking, the masks come on a sheet that you have to actually take your knife, your blade, and you very carefully cut out your masks, and then you can affix them. It's just regular. Actually, the masks are made from Tamiya, I think Tamiya masking tape, so it's made really from something like this. So if you mess up your masks, or if you have to repaint your part because of a problem, which happened to me, just use regular Tamiya masking tape to mask everything off, and you'll be just fine. Do not put in your windshield at this stage. My advice is to keep it off until you put on your rear view mirrors. Do not glue this in. It does not need to be glued in. It actually wedges itself. This little part right here wedges itself between this part and the front cowl, and then these 2 clips up here clip into the edges of the cowl up here, so it just wedges itself right in and holds itself in by tension. Not a problem, very simple to put on. Okay, number 22, this is where I started having problems. And my problem actually came from my airbrush gun. When I was painting these white, as it calls for, I couldn't understand why I was getting dust. I thought it was the dust that was in the garage. That's where I do all my airbrushing. And I thought, there was just dust in the garage. So I sanded it all down to get all that dust out, repainted it, and then I put the pieces in a plastic container to keep the dust off of them. Then looking at it with the naked eye, I thought everything was fine. Then I masked them off about 4 or 5 days later. What I did was I painted them, and then I put 2 layers of clear coat on top of the white paint, because I wanted the paint to be protected from the masking tape or the masks that come with the kit, because I was afraid that putting the masking tape on top of the bare paint, the paint might peel off or it could damage from the tape. So I waited about 5 days for the clear coat to dry, masked everything off, sprayed it the Italian red that it's called for, thought everything was good. Again, waited 5 days for the clear coat to dry and to cure, and then I started putting on my decals using my magnifying glass, which is this right here. And again, I saw debris on the white, and I'm going, what the heck is going on? Make a long story short, I had a problem with my air gun. Even though I clean it really, really well between usage, and also when switching between one color paint to another, what I didn't know is that I lost the O-rings that go from the paint dispenser, the paint cup that goes into the gun, and also I lost an O-ring from the needle housing, or the needle tip. So I didn't have any O-rings for the needle tip, so I had to order that off of Amazon. But the kit that came with my airbrush gun had extra O-rings for the paint cup. So once I got the O-rings on there and replaced the needle cap, everything just went on just fine. So this right here actually took about 2 weeks to do, because I had a hard time trying to figure out what my problem was. But other than that, what I did was, my basic process was painting this the color that it's called for, which is the white, waited for that paint to completely dry, then put 1 or 2 coats of clear coat on top of that, waited about 5 or 6 days for that to cure, then I masked it off, painted it the Italian red that it's asking for, repeated the process of the drying and of the clear coat. Then I also, at the very bottom, and you'll notice on the photos I'm going to have on the screen here, the black at the very bottom, I spray painted that black. I used gloss black from Tamiya and painted that black rather than using the decals that came with the kit. I thought that came out just great. I thought it was better than using the decal. The other tip I can give you too in terms of the decals and painting this red next to the white, don't worry too much about making this a fine razor sharp line between the red and the white. The decal that goes across here for the screw holes or the bolts or whatever these really are on the real bike, that decal is red with a white bottom border. So when you put that decal on, it's going to create a nice sharp line between the white and the red. You'll also notice that on the photos that I have on the cows that there are silver bits that are on the cows. Those silver bits came from the detail kit here, and I just put a little bit of clear CA glue, or actually I used again micro crystal clear, and put a dab of micro crystal clear on top of the decal, and then put the little silver dots on there that you see, and that went on just perfectly. The other problem that I had was on number 23 when you're putting all the cowls onto the bike. My biggest problem was that the screw holes did not match up to the screw holes that are on the bike. The whole assembly of putting the front cowls and the side cowls on took way more time than it should have, and that was all because this screw hole was not aligning up with the hole here. In the process, I damaged the paint area around the cowl, trying to get these holes to line up and getting the screw in there. I did anchor it over here temporarily so that I can move this around in order to get the holes to line up. But that probably took about 30 or 40 minutes to get all this all assembled. I'm doing the bike again, and I think the next time around is what I'll do is I'll put some glue on the inside of this piece here and a little bit of glue in the trench area here of this piece. Then maneuver the piece on, screw it into place, and then essentially glue this piece onto the bike so that the screw holes are perfectly aligned. Will make putting the side cowls on much easier, I think. I did not put in the windshield at this step. So that completes all the assembly here on number 23. On my bike, however, you'll notice I am not using the kickstand. By taking the kickstand off and on constantly while I was building the bike, the end here that goes into the wheel broke off, and I could not repair that. So the bike sits up just fine using the kickstand, and it's not a big problem for me. Moving on over here, the other problem that I had was the rear view mirrors, putting the rear view mirrors on. This piece here, there is no lug or really any clear indication on how the rear view mirrors are attached to the front cowl. You have to use your best guess on matching this piece here up onto the cowl. You will notice that there is a little bit of an overhang from this piece down here. I'll get number 21. There is a little bit of an overhang on this piece right here that pops up through this area of the cowl. This piece here aligns with the figure of this piece right here. So you want to match this to the way that piece is on the cowl, but in terms of the angle, you're going to have to reference your box art, and that's how I was able to figure out how to get. Let me get the box here for you. That's how I was able to get the angles of the rear view mirrors in properly, because there is no way to figure that out as you're putting these on. The other tip I would give you is to put a little bit of Tamiya thin cement on the edge here and a little bit on the bike as well. Wait about 30 seconds to 45 seconds, enough time to get the Tamiya cement to be tacky. Then affix the rear view mirror onto the bike, holding it into the angle that you want, and then hold it there for about 15 or 20 more seconds, and then you'll have a firm piece sitting on the bike. in the angle that you want it to be in. Wait for the glue to completely dry, then add a little bit more of Tamiya cement just around the edges to give it a little bit more added support and security. Do that one at a time. Put this in first, or whatever side you want to work on. Once it is completely dry and solid, then work on the other one, because as you're working on it, you can have a tendency to knock these off. Then the last step is the license plate. Everything again went in just fine. It is a little fiddly to put these little clear parts into the recess area of the plastic area here. Just take your time. Again, I used micro crystal clear for that, and you can't really use your fingers. I did use a wax pencil to help me out on getting those pieces into place, and then I used my fingers to securely put them into the recess as best as I possibly could. I did not use the plastic part for this. I actually constructed it from the metal kit, again from the detail set, and the instructions are very, very easy to follow, and it was very easy to put together. The way I did it was, you have a solid metal piece, and then you have this detail piece that goes on top of this, and then you have the square license plate that goes on top of this. So this is really, when these two pieces are put together, you're actually constructing the back of this piece. Then you turn it over, and you'll have a nice smooth metal area that this is going to be affixed to. So I put this piece on, and then I put this piece on the top, on the smooth area. This is on the back of this piece. Then I took just regular pins. I took 4 of these pins, just 4 pins, and I put them through the 4 holes that are on the entire piece when you put it together. So that lines up all these holes together. Then very, very careful not to stick myself with the pins, I turned it around. The head of the pin is on the top here. So then when I turned this around, all I saw was just these pins sticking out. And then I just took some CA glue and glued all this together to make sure that it was all in alignment. I wasn't gluing this on. I was just wanted to make sure that these holes are all going to line up perfectly. Once this piece was securely in place, I then removed all the pins, removing this top piece as well. And then to make sure that all corners were fully secured and tight, I turned it on its side. I'll take this piece here to give you a demonstration. And then on the corner, I took my pair of pliers, squeezed it down to make sure that they were nice and tight, and then put some CA glue around the edges there to make sure that it was all secure and tight, and I did that on all 4 corners. Okay, once this piece was all complete, I then put this piece on top, and then I slipped. I haven't glued this piece on. I then slipped these pins into the holes. They went in very, very easily. I put 1 pin in first, turned it over, put a little bit of CA glue on the bottom or on the back to secure the pin in. Did that for all 4 pins. All right, once that was all complete, I then put just a little bit of CA glue around the edges here to make sure that this was secured in place on top of this whole entire piece. So when I was done, I had a whole complete license plate. And you'll see here that it went on just fine. Okay, so that's how that went on. Okay, so not a problem. Okay, so that was the end of the build. That was the last thing that I glued onto the bike, is the license plate, and essentially that went on just fine. It just glues in very easily underneath the bike. And then on the last page is where you do all your decals, and all the decals went on just fine. Okay, so in terms of whether or not how close I came to the plasma channel and of the basic bike, I'm going to leave that grading up to you guys. Just let me know in the comment section how well I did, from an A all the way down to an F. How bad did I fail? How close do you think I came? How well do you think I was able to complete this this bike, and how it came out, as you see it on the turntable. But my thoughts on the bike are that the two most difficult areas of assembly of the bike was putting the cowls on the bike and the rear view mirrors. It would have been better. Everyone says that you can take these cowls off so you can enjoy the details of the engine. With my experience of putting these cowls on, there's absolutely no way I'm going to be removing these at all. All right, it's just too much of a risk of breaking something, maybe knocking off a rear view mirror or breaking off a handlebar or what have you. So these cowls are on the bike permanently. I'm not going to take them off. But if it was designed so that you could take them off to take a look at the cowls or the inside of the engine, I would have designed a different way of doing that. For example, maybe attaching these cowls to a polycap. Maybe putting a polycap in here, and then this could then attach to the polycap, and then you can have maybe screws to very lightly or securely, quote unquote, secure the cowl to the bike, where it'd be very easy to remove the cowls, and this would be your secure point. On the other side, you can do the same thing. You can have some sort of a polycap somewhere on the engine discreetly so that this could be attached. But the way it's designed right now, and also the problems of trying to get the screw holes to line up, it's just too much of a risk of breaking something, I think. The other area that I think needs to be improved in the design of the bike is the rear view mirrors. There's just, if there was some sort of a lug that this can actually snap onto to get them on the right angle and to be more easy to secure it to the front cowl, that would be a great improvement, I think, on assembling that part. Otherwise, I don't think there really was any real big problems in assembling the part. All the parts went in just fine. Going through this, I'm going to zoom out just a little bit. So all the instructions, I thought, were very, very clear. There are a couple of areas where you have to dry fit them to understand how everything went in. But other than that, I think everything just went in just fine. I think it's a very, very fun kit. I had a lot of fun putting it together. Bring it back over again. And I really think it came out really, really nice. How good I did in terms of a grade, I'm going to leave that all up to you guys. But I had a lot of fun building this. I am going to be doing this kit again, as I mentioned, and I'm not going to do a video on building it step by step as I did on this kit. What I will do is do videos on anything that I tried to do. For example, the chain. I did do a video on the metal chain. I was able to complete the metal chain, and I will do a video on constructing this part right here. As you recall, I did a horrible job on that, and I'm going to do a video on that to see if I can improve on that. Otherwise, everything else just went fine. And I did buy some decals from Mr. Hobby, and I thought they were interesting. I'm not really sure exactly what they expect you to do with these decals, though. If you look at the instructions that come with it, there are two designs. There's a black version, and then of course there's the red, white, and green version. The decals come from a cowl standpoint with this type of a configuration. So the red stripe here is missing. What I think they want you to do is paint the entire cowl Italian red, and then put the decal on top of that so that this red stripe is really the same color as the Italian red that you're going to paint. It's an interesting way of doing it, and you'll notice too that down here this is all one decal. So this is an entire decal. This whole entire area here is one decal. And so it's all red to start off with, so you're not painting it white because you've got this white decal. I thought that was kind of interesting. I might try that on the second build just to see how that goes. You'll notice too that there's already this decal on here, pre-printed on the decal, and the white and the red, or excuse me, the black, a little colorblind I guess. The black stripe here and the 1199 logo is already on the decal there, and you also have the Ducati label right here already on there. So I thought that was an interesting way of doing it. So we'll see how that goes when I build the bike again. You'll also will notice too, bring this over again, there are a couple of additional decals to put on. You've got these two decals here, which they're calling to put onto the bike right about here. Zoom in. And you'll also notice that there's these decals here, or excuse me, can't see it. These decals here, and they go onto the black version of the bike. So they're kind of a silver color of lettering that goes on the bike right there. But you'll notice that there is no Ducati logo here at the very bottom. So there's two different versions, I guess, on the color of this bike that this decal set does come with. And this is from the Hobby Designs, and that is the actual product code and title that you get. So you get the instructions, and then you get your decals that goes along with that. I'll put a link in the descriptions on where I got this. So I might try that as well. The other thing too is that I also found that there was more detail pieces that you can put on this bike, and I got that also from Hobby Design or Top Studio. I have this Top Studio design right here. These are additional metal parts that you can put on the bike, and then of course I also have the fork details that I also will be using, that I used on the first bike. This one here just has some additional metal parts to it. I really haven't taken it out of the box yet, but it does have additional metal parts, more than what comes with this piece here. So I will be doing a video on how I'm going to put these parts onto the bike. I will not be doing too much video on this, only for the chain, which I've already done, and also on that, I guess, that heat exchange that we talked about earlier. I will be doing a video on constructing that. Otherwise, I'm not going to do another detailed video on this bike. I feel I've already done that. I think I've achieved my goal on trying to build this bike as close as I could to the plasma channel. I did not come really close. I knew that from the beginning, but I wanted to see how well I could do. And I think I achieved that. If I were to give myself a grade, I would give myself a C. Between a C or a C minus, somewhere in that range. But that's just me. The final grade I think I'm going to leave up to you guys. Just let me know in the comment section what you think. But that's it. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. If you haven't already subscribed, please remember to subscribe. Other than that, have a great day, and always have fun in your workshop. Take care, and we'll see you next time.